Good evening. This is Maestro Cretella with a Dawn of War 2 Retribution Elite modcast. Today we have a 2v2 on Median Cliff Mines. Our first player today is Texcalibur, the famous sword of legend, playing as a Dark Angels Grey Knight Bro Captain. Tanky melee hero, walks through cover, walks through walls. Actually, he doesn't do that, but he cannot be suppressed. Definitely walks through some barbed wire. He can hit things with his big sword, and yeah. Our next player is Fortune, back from after about 500 hours of Company of Heroes 2, playing as the Inquisitor, the spellcasting control and disruption hero from the Imperial Guard, a very cheesy hero who people love to hate. We have another Inquisitor, played by me, none other than Maestro Cretella. And finally, we have Crazyman, 6435. Can't see him through the walls because he's right here, continuing to random some of the best heroes in the game. This time he's got the Eldar Warlock, a hero who can either be a spellcaster or a tanky melee hero, whichever you want to do. Gives him a lot of versatility, and very strong hero. So our early engagements see some of the Bro Captains charging into some Imperial Guardsmen. I do not yet have the stomp yet on my Sentinel. Now, the last time I was, of course, playing the Sorcerer. The Sorcerer plays a very awkward game of control, especially against tanky melee heroes, because he does not really have, combined with his army, he really does not have enough, he really does not have much focus fire that he can actually use to DPS down a hero at range. By comparison, Imperial Guard is kind of the opposite. Now, Imperial Guard certainly has many other disadvantages, like not having a jump unit in Tier 1, but one thing they certainly don't lack in Tier 1 is range fire, because pretty much everything coming out of the Imperial Guard in Tier 1 is a ranged unit, especially the Sentinel. And of course, the whole way the Sentinel works is to do some steady DPS over time. So Imperial Guard, very much a steady DPS race, especially early in Tier 1, rather than the burst damage play of the Chaos Sorcerer. And I'm getting pushed back a lot here, actually, by all these Grey Knights. We also see some Howling Banshees now from Crazyman to support me. Gonna get in range with these Strike Squad. That is really bad for the Strike Squad, except for the fact that those Banshees just kind of ran past them. But Inquisitor, actually very, very good for dealing with tanky melee heroes. So Tech still with that same opening build of the two Stormtroopers, as well as the Strike Squad. So he also does have a lot of early range fire coming out of his build. A lot mostly just because he has multiple ranged units. The Stormtroopers, in their vanilla form, they don't really have that high range damage, although it certainly gets better once you put this that Stormtrooper Sergeant on, which Tex did, of course. Now, Fortune, I don't know if he already lost a Guardsman squad or if he only went for one, but he's getting Catachan Devils. But he does not have a second Guardsman squad, and he's going around with this Sentinel. And I actually have a second Sentinel. So I got that in part because just in some of my experiences trying to play Imperial Guard against Grey Knights, I found it extremely, extremely tough to deal with Purgation squads without double Sentinels, since most of the other Imperial Guard units will actually just get hit very, very hard by the Purgation squad, while also getting suppressed, and that can just very, very quickly make things very tough for Imperial Guard. And I don't know if there's a strategy that I just haven't discovered yet, because I don't have that much Imperial Guard experience, and I don't have that much experience playing against Grey Knights as Imperial Guard, so there could be something else that I haven't found out about yet. But at least so far, I just go with the double Sentinel. Over here, meanwhile, it looks like Fortune is actually pushing forward a bit and pushing Crazyman back a bit with his Sentinel as well as his Catachans. These Catachans, pretty good unit in just about any matchup, especially good, I think, for dealing with Howling Banshees, since they can really keep the Howling Banshees out of range, and then one shotgun blast is probably enough to focus down the Howling Banshees enough to force them off. So over here, I got forced back a bit. Sentinel's still out in the field, and you can keep this. I can keep the Sentinels out on the field a bit longer than I can keep the Guardsmen out of the field, since I can have them stay in a bit, even only at about partial health. Over here, it looks like wow, I don't know. Fortune somehow getting scared off, maybe by the combination of the Rangers as well as the Shuriken Cannon. I actually don't really like the position of these Howling Banshees, and they might be in a bit of trouble. They should actually not melee the Catachans, and they actually are going to go down. And wow, I think Crazyman, he even disrupted his own Banshees right there with the Kinetic Pulse. That was a really bad position. Now, technically, the Banshees should win against the Banshees technically should win against the Catachans just because of special attacks, but the Catachans can certainly at least compete as far as damage goes. Now here I apparently lost my generator farm. It got decapped, so we're at a slower power income of only plus 39 compared to the plus 62 for the blue team. And I also need to focus on some repairs. So Crazyman getting his Shuriken Cannon out as well. Needs to set it up. And we actually have two suppression teams setting up against each other. And suppression teams setting up against each other, you usually don't see fights like that. But it can go in very awkward ways, since suppression, you can still get the burst off. So both of these teams will actually suppress each other, even if one has already been suppressed. It works out kind of awkwardly. We see the Merciless Witchblade out from Crazyman. I feel like I'm a little surprised to see that, and he's probably mostly getting that for the ranged disruption that he can use against the Inquisitor, just from the Warlock's ranged attack when he has the Merciless Witchblade. And I'm actually coming for a flank. That's going to be really bad, so that's probably going to be the end of Fortune's heavy weapon team, because I'm coming for a flank. Now, I don't quite have the retreat killing power as Imperial Guard that I would have as Chaos, but I was still able to take out that heavy weapon team just because I had a flank. I got the stomp, and I also just got a lot of damage from all of my units being over here, so I doubled Fortune. Pretty bad for him. Probably also going to take out this Sentinel. One of the good things about having double Sentinels is actually that it's really good for chasing down another Sentinel when playing against Imperial Guards. That's one of the things that's actually good about that double Sentinel play. Double Sentinels is actually pretty good against Imperial Guard. At least that's in my experience, both on the receiving end of it as well as doing it. So Fortune got doubled, and now it's Tex here, but Tex is actually here kind of by himself. But again, he's actually just walking right up to the Guardian weapon team. Tex actually likes to get the Nemesis Force Sword, and that's one of the things you see Tex using these war gears that most people don't use. Most people don't use the Nemesis Force Sword because they think it's bad. Tex uses it. It improves We Are the Hammer, and that's a big part of what Tex is doing. He used We Are the Hammer to get in on that Shuriken Cannon. I'm actually going for a heavy weapon team of my own, getting it in Tier 2, I believe. I think I'm already in Tier 2, or maybe I'm still in Tier 1 and I'm just getting a heavy weapon team. My Sentinel's prowling around with not much health, but still doing what they do. But need to be very careful not to block it. One of the things that's definitely really tough about Imperial Guard, I mean, aside just from the micro of constantly having to micro your own Sentinels away from enemy fire so that they do not take too much range damage, so that they don't die, you also have to worry about your own units and your teammates' units. You have to worry about not path blocking your own units, path blocking your own Sentinels with your own units, which can actually be pretty tough. And path block, like just having your Guardsmen stand behind your Sentinel at the wrong time can actually lose you a Sentinel. And you'll just be doing that because you'll want to keep your Sentinel to get repairs, so you'll just back it up to your Guardsmen, but then you might actually path block your own Sentinel, especially if you're playing against a race like Orcs that has a massive amount of range DPS. Now, for my Inquisitor, I do have the Excruciators. I also have that Crossbow Bolt Pistol. The Crossbow Bolt Pistol feels a little awkward, somewhat similar to the Robes of Torment, but I'd say a bit harder to use because a little bit easier to aim, a little bit harder to aim rather, and it actually doesn't last as long, although it also doesn't have the center mass, so it can't be, you can't shoot down. You actually just have to wait out the crippling volley. And I also have the Excruciators, which is very similar, except it can only be used against one unit, and it also immobilizes the Inquisitor. Although I still like the Excruciators better, and now I'm getting the Inquisitorial Mandate. Crazyman, meanwhile, seems to just be going for the Jedi build. He's just missing the Heart of Darkness, but he already has the Champion's Robe and the Merciless Witchblade. We have Psychic Lash now in the Bro Captain, basically giving him a Flesh Hook-like ability, a Psychic Flesh Hook. And now I have missile launchers on both of my Sentinels. They would be really, really devastating, actually, against most of the infantry squads right now. Certainly these Stormtroopers, as well as, well, the Imperial Guard Stormtroopers, as well as the Inquisitorial Stormtroopers coming from Tex. Tex also has these Purifiers, and I'm probably going to need my Guardsmen for that. Unfortunately, trying to shoot with my Sentinel, and they are just shooting into that water tower. And I also have my heavy weapon team to hopefully halt that approach. This time, Tex does not have he does not have those interceptors to jump, but I think he's going to get to my heavy weapon team anyway. Oh, I just might lose a Guardsman squad here as well, getting very, very close. But I think it just barely gets out of that fire in time. It's actually a very precarious situation, so I kind of got forced off there. But here we go with those Purifiers, getting hit by the Excruciators. And that's actually one of the reasons I got the Excruciators, was actually to combine it with those Sentinel missiles. Since the Sentinel missile launcher, the frag missiles, the tough part about them, or the disadvantage to them, is that they tend to miss against moving targets. So that's one of the reasons to get Excruciators. And I was going to try to back-cap with my Inquisitor, but I decided to come back here because I didn't want my Inquisitor retreating through all this, and I decided I also wanted to protect rather than project my generator farm. Strike Squad model gets gived, but I'm still losing the whole farm here, in part because we have an Inquisitor right here, and a single Manticore rocket finishes off one of my Sentinels. Getting hit very, very hard right now. By both Grey Knights and Imperial Guard. A second Purifier squad coming out from Tex, apparently. And even just getting pushed back a lot. Might even lose that heavy weapon team, except for the fact that I had a Sentinel Stomp waiting. But I still lost that entire farm. Waiting to get those guys forced off. Over here we have some Catachan Devils. Is Old reliable on cooldown? It probably is on cooldown, but he actually uses the Smoke Bomb to protect from some of that range fire, but also just gets his Catachan Devils forced off at about a third of their health, but still 8 out of 9 members. So down to 1 Sentinel. That Manticore, unfortunately, making life a little bit tougher. Not as well spent on a Warlock, since a Warlock, he certainly will get knocked down, and they will stop him from, or at least stall him from getting the point, but not the best use of that Manticore. Manticore definitely better spent on squads that it can bleed or even potentially wipe. The Manticore has a huge amount of wiping potential. It can definitely potentially wipe Guardsmen. There are even some squads like Heretics that it can wipe with a single missile. Not a single volley, a single missile. But we see that all of these units are going very quickly, except for the fact that now we have those strike squads that did get snared. Oh, but there's the Psychic Lash against my Inquisitor, and I don't know if I'm going to get my Inquisitor out of there alive, but I think I just barely actually might. But now I'm trying to shoot some... Oh, no! Inquisitor, I think, may actually go down here nevertheless. No, actually just barely gets out of there. Manticore Barrage actually may have scared Tex off a bit from pursuing too much, but since he didn't want to go right into the Manticore Barrage. Fortune probably hoping to get my... Whoa. Okay, my Inquisitor died here anyway. Not even sure what from. Must have been some kind of damage over time thing. But I got the suppression now, trying to suppress this entire blob, and certainly it stops them in their tracks, but Stormtroopers get very close to dying. But the rest of these Grey Knights just kind of charging through it, and I'm trying to hit them with some Sentinel missiles. But those guys just get through. Over here, Crazyman has a bit more of an army. He also has a Wraith Guard, but I think it's in a bad position being chased down by this Grey Knight Dreadnought. Yeah, I think that's going to be a done Wraith Guard. Very, very unfortunate. I don't think I'm going to have support coming for it anytime soon, or at least it won't be in time to save this Wraith Guard from that Grey Knight Dreadnought. Meanwhile, though, Fortune going for a Gen Bash off. These gifts. What kind of language got coming out of me. Unfortunately, I'm in a precarious situation. I have a Grey Knight Dreadnought chasing down my units. I don't quite have sufficient AV, and that kind of pressured me into a War Gear switch, going for the Inferno Pistol. This is really bad. Need to just retreat those Guardsmen. Crazyman trying to bash. He's going for a decap, rather. And now he's actually just going for trying to finish off these Stormtroopers. Looks like he did not grenade them with his Dire Avengers. Combination of a grenade followed by those Howling Banshees probably would have been enough to wipe those Stormtroopers. And he unfortunately also does not get too much off here with just taking out that node. I even have a las cannon right now, so I've gone really hard on the AV right here, deciding I really want to take out that Dreadnought. Unfortunately, that means I give up my suppression, which is kind of sad. I may have went a little overkill on the anti-vehicle. There is a possibility that I could have dealt with it just with using my las cannon. I mean, just with using my Inquisitor as well as my Sentinel. But I really felt I wanted to be sure. Lehman Russ now already out for Fortune. And this Dreadnought is actually being switched to a plasma cannon. So Lehman Russ taking shots. That Lehman Russ is a very, very nice tank. Does not quite have the raw damage of something like a Predator, but it is very nice because it has that 35% damage resistance, making it very, very durable, a very tanky tank. And unfortunately, we have the ability. Oh no, I'm gonna lose. I think I'm gonna lose a Guardsman squad right here. Actually, don't. Kind of get a little lucky. Lehman Russ getting forced off a little bit, doing some nice things, but not quite enough. Again, not a raw damage unit, although it still does have some nice area of effect damage, even with that default battle cannon. I've learned that default battle cannon really is better than the Vanquisher for dealing with infantry. I used to think the Vanquisher was just a straight upgrade, but the Vanquisher is really more of an anti-vehicle specialist weapon. Oh, that's really bad for the Guardian weapon team. I think it got knocked down. Yes, it's getting hit by the knockdown from these Stormtroopers. They now get an overcharge ability that knocks them down, and Crazyman lost his Shuriken cannon. Crazyman's still getting a decap off on, and I don't know, what is Crazyman doing with these Dire Avengers? Going for a grenade, not really a great choice. This Lehman Russ still out, but I'm getting a Lehman Russ of my own. Crazyman now going for some Seer Council. And we have this this plasma cannon Dreadnought. Meanwhile, I've still got my las cannon over here. Probably going to need the las cannon now that we have double Dreadnoughts as well as a Lehman Russ. So some huge vehicle plays coming out of the blue team. They have so many more units than we do, in fact. And I'm just trying to hit this Dreadnought with everything I have. It got hit by a las cannon shot, but I need to back off the las cannon a bit. Here we go. I'm going to need to back off with that Inquisitor as well, even though I used that Judgment ability on the Inferno Pistol, hoping to use it against the Grey Knight Dreadnought, but I've actually just backed up my las cannon. Need to bring it back in. And of course, I do have my Sentinel switch to the crack missiles. Those crack missiles, not terribly powerful, but still just good as AV. Good burst damage, but slow rate of fire, making them bad DPS. Oh, here we go with that plasma cannon. Double Dreadnoughts. I do have my las cannon set up, and now I have a Lehman Russ of my own, upgrading to the Vanquisher. And I was just saying that default battle cannon is nice, but we need the anti-vehicle right now against double Grey Knight Dreadnoughts and a Lehman Russ. Need to be also very, very careful. There's still... Never mind. And where's Crazyman? Crazyman coming back right here. Going for... Is he going to go for a decap off with his Seer Council? Yes, he is. Kadashan's just sitting here invisible. Oh, and there's a grenade from those Dire Avengers. Scared off those Guardsmen, even though I feel like they kind of didn't have to leave there.
Technology unlock beginning.
And right there, the Lehman Russ Vanquisher actually did hit some infantry right there. But now, at least now I have a Vanquisher Lehman Russ, and I have the las cannon. Oh, the las cannon is actually getting chased down. So my Lehman Russ not in such a good position, exposing rear armor to the other Lehman Russ, which also does have a Vanquisher. And I have to back up a bit. Fortunately, some of Crazyman's units are in a bad position. Some of my units are in a bad position as well. So I'd say we're a bit caught out of position right here. And this is actually what I was talking about right here. My Leman Russ is actually path blocked by some combination of my las cannon and my heavy weapon team. My heavy weapon team is facing the wrong way. My guardsmen are almost dead as well, and I lose the Leman Russ. But we also have a flank from some fire dragons taking out Fortune's Leman Russ, and they might even take out one of these Grey Knight Dreadnoughts, and I actually bring my Sentinel back in to finish off that Dreadnought. Sentinel did not even have to go because it's still here out on the field. And we might even take out this second Grey Knight Dreadnought as well. Unfortunately, these fire dragons have been mostly unopposed, and I think that's been killing Tex and Fortune. And here we go with a rocket run, and that's a rocket run. Ooh, very careful with that rocket run. That's a rocket run from me, and I took out Fortune's Catachan Devils. Also nearly took out Crazyman's Dire Avengers, his level 4 Dire Avengers, but I just barely didn't, and I had to be very careful with that rocket run since I did see his Dire Avengers right there. And I kind of knew I would hit them, but I also felt I could not kill them entirely. And Excruciators on Fortune's Inquisitor does force that Inquisitor off, since he would also have to worry about those Howling Banshees. But it's actually still just a 1-to-1 cap, 280 to 287. We definitely came out on the better end of that engagement. The huge losses from the blue team, losing 2 Dreadnoughts and a Leman Russ. I, of course, lost a Leman Russ as well, but I think that was the only thing I lost. Crazyman lost Rangers at some point. So actually not too many losses from us. We actually went into it with not that many more units than we have right now. And now the blue team looking a little too lean. Unfortunately, my Sentinel is in a bad position. It is getting repaired, but a little low on health, and I'm actually path blocking it because I can't get through the guardsmen right here. I probably could have gone towards Crazyman stuff though. So it's now going to be a double cap for me and Crazyman. I'm actually capturing with my heavy weapons team because they don't have much else to do. And now they're actually going to be going for a generator bash because that's really the best use of my heavy weapons team at this point. Capturing and generator bashing. So yep, I'm literally bashing with a las cannon. And not the fastest thing to bash with, but still, just by comparative advantage. This is... Oh, and I kind of missed it right here. But here are all my guardsmen. I just lost all of them because Fortune hit me with a rocket run. And I wish I had caught that instead of watching this. But oh well. So some grenades going down right here. It's a triple cap. I'm going to start a Baneblade. It looks like that's what Fortune is saving up for as well. It has to be with those kinds of resources. My Baneblade is getting started. Tex himself going for a Land Raider Crusader, he says. And Fortune is going for a Baneblade. Now, one of the reasons I decided to actually save up for that Baneblade is actually because of the fact that I knew that it was possible that Fortune could be getting a Baneblade of his own. So I really wanted my own Baneblade to deal with the possibility of a Baneblade coming from Fortune, because I actually felt that we could not really be able to deal with that without a Baneblade of my own. If I had just gone for Leman Russes, I think the Baneblade would pretty much win over the Leman Russes. Like, Fortune's Baneblade would win over my Russes. Now, as it is in this situation, I think my Baneblade is going to have an advantage over Fortune's because of the fact that I also have a heavy weapon team. And come very, very close to losing that level 3 Sentinel. It's been such a great purchase. And Tex, we see saving his resources, of course, for that Land Raider Crusader. Probably also waiting for an opportune time to drop it. I'm surprised to see Crazyman just going for some hard throws with those Dire Avengers. And that time he actually did hit the Strike Squad, although they did not even lose a model. Level 3 Strike Squad, level 3 Purifiers. There have been a lot of dying squads, but for the squads that have stayed alive, they have definitely been getting levels. Like, even my las cannon is level 2. Level 4 Howling Banshees get grenaded by these Stormtroopers. And even level 2, just levels on everything. So here's my Baneblade. So we've got 3 super heavy tanks with quite a bit of health. And unfortunately, this is really bad positioning on my Baneblade. It's apparently taking rear armor hits, and but it's definitely at least going to win over the Crusader. And I have my las cannon setting up. The las cannon is in the arc, and so there's already quite a bit of damage happening, except for the fact, oh no, that's really bad for my las cannon. I think I will get my las cannon out of there alive. And we have an Eldritch Storm from Crazyman on that Land Raider Crusader. Unfortunately, I think that may not have been a great time to use it. It definitely disables the Land Raider Crusader, does some damage, but I'm not really in a great position to follow up. Maybe I can now start following up, but actually a little bit late, I think. Crazyman chasing after the Baneblade with some Seer Council. The damage they will do will actually be very light, not quite enough for something like a Baneblade. And then I have my Baneblade chasing down this Land Raider Crusader and doing some major damage with that Demolisher Cannon. I have 2 fresh Guardsman squads. I like to just replace my Guardsman squads instead of getting Kashyyyks or Stormtroopers because I want that repair support, especially for something like a Baneblade. I'm going to need some kind of repair support. If not a bunker, then Guardsman squads. Or if not Guardsman squads, then a bunker. We now have a Fire Prism. Oh! I was going to say a Fire Prism out. Unfortunately, did not last long against that Baneblade. So 2 Baneblades right here. Demolisher Cannon shot. Takes out like 4 Banshee models. That was a nice called shot on the retreat. And here we actually have a Land Raider Crusader that's protecting this VP. These strike squads were apparently snared, probably by Excruciators. Now my Baneblade is going to start taking shots from this Infernal Pistol as well as this other Baneblade. But I have my Baneblade and my las cannon shooting, and I took a Demolisher Cannon shot, but I'm just taking it because I'm keeping all of these units here to get a repair bunker. And that actually looks like it might be the end of this Baneblade. I need to move my Baneblade forward, not backward, because these Fire Dragons just laying in. The las cannon still in range of that Baneblade, and this could be the end of that Baneblade right here. The las cannon shooting from my Baneblade, that's got to be a dead Baneblade for Fortune. Yeah, that's going to be it, as well as with the flank with the Seer Council and the Howling Banshees. And I had some Purifiers that tried to be sneaky, but I got that Excruciators on them, and then followed up with the Sentinel Missile Launcher. Still my level 4 Sentinel Missile Launcher, still around here. Level 3, did I say level 4? And I was actually just tanking the damage from that ability that the Purifiers were using, because I have my my Meta Bunker right here. 127 VPs to 266. A grenade, just a hard-thrown grenade from Fortune. Crazyman pays attention to it and just gets them out of there, though. Or it just fleets of foot, runs away, and then just continues capping. So very, very smart by Crazyman. Alright, we got the Land Raider Crusader being chased down. Demolisher Cannon shot. Actually, pretty much just going to wipe that squad. And there goes the Stormtrooper squad. And that's kind of what I'm talking about. I said before, actually, in the last game, that I think those Stormtroopers, the way they're designed, makes them very easily wiped, especially in the late game. Even more so than Guardsmen, which are already a very easily wiped squad. Now I'm actually being aggressive with my Baneblade, and even moving forward with my heavy weapons team. And while the strike squad, they're going for the bunker. But I'm setting up my las cannon. If I can get sight on this Land Raider Crusader, it will start taking shots. And my bunker has actually been stolen, so I can't heal from it anymore. But, you know, more importantly, I'm going for this Land Raider Crusader right here, which has been snared. It's also getting hit by these Fire Dragons. Great use of Fire Dragons by Crazyman in this game. He's got them almost to level 4. They will get to... No, wow, I thought killing a Land Raider Crusader would bring them to level 4. But there goes that Land Raider Crusader. And that's probably going to be it sometime for Tex and Fortune, having lost most of their units. I even have a new Lehman Russ coming on the way in addition to my Baneblade. But I think Tex and Fortune have just lost a little too much. I lose a Guardsman squad, but at this point in the game, I don't think that's going to be enough. And we actually have a new Land Raider Crusader being dropped for Tex. I don't think that's going to be enough at this point. Could at least stall them out enough to get another cap on the middle VP to stall the game out a bit. But I don't think that's really going to be enough. We actually have some Melta-Kashigans going for my Baneblade, and Melta-Kashigans with weapon expertise will even do a snare with their attack. And Tex is actually just going for this bunker, and he's probably going to take it out. Baneblade is a bit path blocked, but I still definitely have a bit of an advantage here with a Baneblade, a Rust, a Sentinel, and a heavy weapons team. And that's going to be the end of this game. This Land Raider Crusader will not die in time, but yeah. Alright, so that was the game. Hope you enjoyed the cast. Have a good night.